Hey guys, I haven't made a video in a while now because I've been busy with real life and also dabbled in modding a little bit. I'll likely release a utility mod pretty soon and I'll be sure to make a video on it once that happens. But I did want to publish this box sorter that for the most part I've developed a couple of years ago, even before zero-tick pushing cauldrons or composters into shulker boxes was a thing. Although I've updated it a bit to include a trick I've since learned from the storage tech community that wasn't known back then, but we can go over that a bit later. So what are the pros and cons of this sorter? Well, first of all, it's really compact for what it does. It's one-way tileable, so it's very easy to build. It runs at hopper speed, and the input rate does not have to be constant, unlike with some sorters I've seen where if boxes don't come in at a specific interval, then the system has to lock itself up until it has a chance to reset. So we can work with weird timings here and things will be fine. There are also a few cons. The first one you're likely to notice is that we have quite a few unlocked hoppers per slice. This one here is locked. These two are mitigated a little bit by having a composter and a dropper on top. You could easily lock these two hoppers as they're exposed. You could theoretically also lock this one by pulling out the observer and pushing in a redstone block, but that seems like more trouble than it's worth. And you can't lock this one at all. We have a buffered box here, which is quite common in box sorters. There's no overflow protection, but you could easily add that in by having maybe dropper here that we pull out of and which can be used to spit out items maybe into a water stream or something once this fills up. Right. So what else? You cannot input empty boxes in here, because if you do, what will happen is that they'll get stuck in this dropper here. And the next time we have items coming in, the sorter will break. So if you do have to handle empty boxes, you have to filter them out before they reach this dispenser here. Right, so let's test it out. So each of the boxes should be in their designated barrels. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about how this works, I suppose. We have a zero-tick generator here that pulses this piston, so it teleports this composter over the shulker box, thus breaking it inside of the composter, but not before we've had time to pull out the first item from the shulker box. Item which will then travel down this dropper line. And while this hopper is in cooldown, we push the composter with the broken box inside over this hopper, so it makes its way into this dropper line going this way. This happens every 8 game ticks for as long as we have boxes to process. So this comparator keeps the 8 game tick clock on, which triggers our zero-tick generator. So here's that item wonder in action. I'm using a little trick here. This comparator is what actually triggers our item dropper line, and more specifically, it's this composter, which is filled up a little bit. Filling it, by the way, will not affect the hitbox. So yeah, that will trigger our comparator, but it's worth mentioning that this observer here will prevent our comparator from being turned on when it's actually reading the contents of a dispense shulker box behind it, by simply outputting signal strength 15 in the side of the comparator. So we do that by timing things properly, essentially, right? So as the item travels down this dropper line, if we sort for the specific item type that is traveling down this line, eventually we'll reach the associated hopper, right? So this is what the filters look like, right? So yeah, once the item gets picked up, we will, well, first of all, let's talk about this little thing here. So because items only hang out in each dropper for 2 game ticks, under normal circumstances, these comparators would not turn on. However, while comparators can turn on with 2 game tick inputs, this will only happen if the comparator is processed before the input is taken away from it, right? So there's 2 main ways we can do this, or rather start such scheduling, which is either to remove the input with the block event. We usually call those extended 2 game tick signals. Or we can increase the tile tick priority of the comparator, so it gets processed before this observer is scheduled to turn off. And one way to do that is by having the comparator point into a other comparator or repeater, right? So you'll notice that now this comparator turns on, but this one doesn't because it doesn't point into anything. So, right. So these comparators will turn on as the item carries along this dropper line. And once it gets picked up, the associated comparator will not turn on any longer, which gives the box traveling along this line and being pushed forwards by these comparators, it gives the box enough time in the slice that it needs to be sorted into for this comparator to turn on. When that comparator turns on, we unlock the hopper to pick up the box, and we dispense the one that was already buffered in here in order to do the item merging, right? So the item that we picked up will end up in our box. We lock this hopper because the box sits on this hopper for 2 game ticks, so we don't want to be pulling any items out. So we lock this hopper and then unlock it as soon as we're ready to break the box. So yeah, I think that's everything that's worth mentioning. Okay, see you guys.